Welcome to Pick a Struggle TV, where we tell the story behind the struggle. Today I'm here with Michelle Huczek. Thanks for being with us, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've gotten through many struggles yourself.
Yes, I have.
And, you know, we know it's hard to share, so we're really thankful that you're here to share today. Why do you think it's important to share your story?
I believe it's important because a lot of people, I think, feel alone in this world, and we're all interconnected with each other, and we're a social being, to think about it at a higher level. And, you know, a lot of people can relate to each other, and if we just kind of put ourselves out there a little bit, you know, we can give hope to others.
Very nice. And thank you, because it's not easy.
No.
I'm sure there was a time where you felt like you wanted to hide.
For sure.
And we'll talk about that as we go. But for now, why don't you share a little bit of your story with us? And you know, what is your big struggle or the big struggles that you've overcome, and where did it start?
Sure. Okay. So my story has to do with my previous marriage. I got married right after I had, maybe not right after, a few months after I had graduated from my master's program in community counseling. And I was already in an abusive relationship, and it was kind of surreal being in a counseling program, learning about domestic violence, knowing there's red flags, seeing them in your relationship, and feeling completely surreal and unable to know what to do to get out of it, when that's what I'm supposed to do and help people to do myself as a counselor. So that's kind of where my struggle started. We were together for like a year or two before we got married, and then married for about 2 or 3 years until, you know, other things happened. I finally decided, this is it. I'm done. I'm better than this. I deserve better. So the struggle was getting through all of this abuse in my marriage, and realizing that I lost who I was. I'm still trying to find out who I am today, which is, I guess, still part of the struggle as well. You know, but yeah, that's where my story is, and that's why I feel it's important to share what I went through, because I believe I'm supposed to be this beacon of hope for others in this right now.
When we connected, you talked about most of the time selecting relationships, you selected the bad boy or bad relationship. And you mentioned, you know, maybe it was to rebel against my parents. Talk a little bit about that. I thought that was cute that you said that. I think as teenagers, many of us go through that. Yeah,
as I think back at some of our relationships, they're all pretty similar, and I mean, obviously not as abusive, but abuse is abuse. Right. I mean, that's what it is. But I never learned from it. I never learned that that was not how we were supposed to be treated. And I guess it could kind of go back to, you know, the core of where you learn about relationships in your family. You know, not that my father doesn't love me or didn't show me that. He was just kind of absent because he was always working. You know, he worked nights. That's how he took care of our family. He worked nights, so he wasn't around for me to see what a healthy relationship interaction looked like. Sure. You know, so I think it kind of stems from that too, where I just didn't learn it.
So you didn't come from an abusive home?
No.
But there was a lack of
an example.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you end up with this guy, and you said there were red flags at the beginning. What were those red flags? And I know they're hard to see till you look backwards.
For
right?
sure. For sure.
So talk about that a little bit.
So the red flags, not so easy to see going through it, but looking back, it's like, oh my God, how did I miss these? Or why, you know, why did I kind of say, whatever. Ignore them. Yeah, right. So some of them were, you know, we were engaged after like 3 months of knowing each other, which, I mean, sometimes that, you know, those relationships last. Not to down that, but ours didn't, and it should have never happened. But some of the red flags, like he would call me all the time while I was in classes. This was what, like I said, while I was in the middle of getting my master's degree, so I did have the strength to finish that program, thank God. You know, he'd call me during classes, and he knew when they were. He accused me of cheating all the time, which that's not my prerogative. So, I mean, he was cheated on before by previous people, but that's just not who I was. So I got accused of that all the time. I mean, after that, I'm sorry, let's go backtrack. school was in Charleston. I live in Chicago. So that's like a 2-3 hour drive. So at one point I was driving to classes and then driving back because he didn't trust me. And then I had to pay for rents down there. I had to pay bills down there. It was just ridiculous. And then the days that I did have to stay down there for whatever reason, for classes and projects to work with, group projects, I'd have to be on the phone with him all night, falling asleep on the phone so that he would know that nobody was there with me. Yeah.
Wow.
Ridiculous. Other red flags. After we were married, I worked down the street maybe a couple miles, working with the chronically mentally disabled. Very humbling job. But I had an office with two people. There were 3 of us in the office. And when you're at work, you're doing your job. Right? You're not cheating on your husband. I mean, I'm in the office with other people, helping save lives, helping people get with it. So he would call me on my work phone. He would call me on my personal cell phone, and he would call me on my work cell phone.
Oh my God.
So, that could be distracting for me at least, but to have 2 other people I'm sharing an office with, I had to unplug all 3 phones, turn them all off. So thank God it was a day program and all of my clients were in the office and none of them were trying to get a hold of me, There was a day when he came to my work and I was, required by him to go out and sit in his car and talk to him. He accused me of cheating on him with my boss, who's female. I'm not interested in females. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I like men.
Right.
He spit on me. Didn't punch me or anything, thank God. But I had to go back in there, and then, my coworkers are asking me what's going on. So, luckily, they know how to deal with that. So they called the police, had him banned from the property. And my boss, my direct supervisor, her supervisor, and then the vice president, all women, came and talked to me in my supervisor's office, was like, this is not okay. So we had a talk, and that was the first time I tried leaving him. So, yeah, those were red flags.
Wow.
There was one main one after that.
Wow. So. That's and to have coworkers, business people do an intervention.
Yeah.
How humbling for you.
Absolutely.
And eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
And what in that got through to you to make you move forward, and how did you move forward after that?
Sure. To just have a bunch of people that showed me there's value in me and that this type of behavior is not okay was pretty much everything, They gave me the rest of the day off. The vice president, I forget her name now, she called my dad, drove me home, and kind of told him what was going on. And then I went to the condo we were living in and grabbed some stuff, and I was gone for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he come looking for you?
He did.
How did that go?
Oh, he's the charmer of charmers.
Of course. Let me guess. Oh, Michelle, I love you. I'm so sorry. Things are going to change.
I'll go to counseling. We'll make it better. We'll fix it. Blah, blah, blah.
So what came next?
So after probably, like I said, 2 weeks of about, talking through it, trying to decide what I wanted to do, moved back in with him, and we saw probably like 3 or 4 counselors.
Okay.
So he did, I guess, try to put in the effort, but he wanted to lie every time. So the true counseling didn't even happen because we couldn't say certain things. We couldn't say that we would argue, that he was abusive, none of that. We couldn't say any of that. So it was a complete waste of our time, the counselor's time, and money. Right. So the last counselor we saw, his name was Harold. Love him to death. He's an amazing man. Older man, Baptist minister. So he kind of got the religious and spiritual aspect of what was going on too. So he wasn't about any of the bull crap that he was trying to pull. So we went to see him for maybe a few months, and then my ex had decided that, I don't want to do this no more. And I was like, well, I do. I'm not happy still, so I'm going to keep going.
Good girl.
So I did. I grew stronger. The truth came out, which he was already aware of, you know, and the last red flag, the last time I left him, happened the day after Father's Day. I don't remember the year. Had to be maybe like 2011, so whatever that date was. On Father's Day, I thought I was being the good wife, and he works at the railroad, so, I mean, in the elements, it's really hot. You get exhausted. You know, I was just on a cruise in the Bahamas, so it's really hot when it's hot outside, you know? It's exhausting. You want to take a nap. But, you know, so I thought I was being a good wife and letting him sleep the day away. You know, I was like, okay, I'll wake you up in a couple hours. We'll go see both of our parents. So, you know, it was maybe like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I'm like, okay, well, go ahead, get in the shower. I'm going to go, you know, across the street and see my parents, and then I'll come back and we'll go see yours. You know, so he jumped out of bed as soon as I went downstairs, told me I couldn't take the car, and luckily we lived across the street, so I said, here's the keys. I'm going to walk my happy butt over there. So he did. And, you know, he never called me to come go, you know, pick him up to go see his dad. So I just stayed there all night, came back. It was dark. I was so pissed off and upset that, you know, I was like, I'm just going to sleep on the couch. I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to even sleep next to you. Like,
right.
Had the heebie-jeebies already, you know. So went to bed, whatever. Woke up the next morning. He has to be at work at like 5 or 6 in the morning. So he wakes up. I'm still sleeping because I don't got to be at work till like 8 or 9.
Okay.
And I love sleep, so I'm sleeping. So then, before he leaves, he gets like right here, like nose to nose almost. And I don't remember the words he said, but like he's like a light switch. You know, like, you know, like, I can see the good in people, but when he is off and angry, like, he's gone. Like, there's the devil looking at you in his eyes. And that's a scary thing. That's probably what kept me there for so long. You know, so he got nose to nose with me, whatever he said. But the last words that did it for me, we were living at the time in my grandmother's condo, before, you know, my mom was trying to sell it, you know, so we're just kind of helping with the situation. So he said something and was like, I'm going to break every window in this condo with bricks. And I was just like, oh, hell no, you're not. This is my grandma's condo, you know. So I laid there in the same spot for probably about an hour to make sure that he wasn't coming back. And then got up, frantically called my mother and said, I'm effing done. Get over here and get me out. You know, she lived right across the street, thank God. So it was a quick hop, skip, and a jump. We called the police, and because after 30 days, at least in the state of Illinois, you have residency, so we couldn't kick him out or evict him. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to grab stuff for, you know, a couple weeks until he can move out, and called my boss and said, I'm leaving, I'm not coming in, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was your family in all this? You know, you had left once, you went back, you know, your family knew it wasn't a good situation.
Right.
And there's that fine line of they don't want to push you out of their lives
For sure.
and alienate you, but they know what's going on. So what part did they play? What did they say to you?
My mom, I think she always had an idea. She would always ask me, how's things going?
Okay.
Hoping that I would tell her something.
But you didn't.
No. I confided in the wrong people. I confided in his family because he came from the abusive family.
Oh.
His father's the abuser of his mother.
Okay.
And his sister's the same way.
Okay.
So I did confide in people, but the wrong ones.
Shoot.
But family-wise, they were always supportive of whatever I wanted to do. If I wanted to stay in the relationship, they'd help me figure it out. If I wanted to get out, they're like, okay, what do we need to do here? You know? And
so the second time you left, did he just say, okay, fine? And
no, he still tried to come charm me and come back and be like, I'm sorry, what do I got to do? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Right. So it took you 2 times.
2 times.
And so he eventually moved out of Grandma's condo?
Yes.
Didn't break stuff?
Didn't break anything.
So it ended up okay,
Yeah.
luckily.
Yes.
It doesn't always,
Yes,
as we know.
luckily.
But, so do you have any contact with him now?
Today, no.
Area?
No.
Okay, so he's moved on.
Last time I saw him was probably a year ago when the car that I drive was in his name, but it was legally mine through the divorce. So once I finished making the payments on it, he had to sign it over to me.
Got it.
So it was the last time I saw him.
Okay, so good. You're done. You're free. Why was it so hard to leave? What was going through your mind? I think, you know, for the women and men who are watching that are abused, you know, it's so often women, but there are men who are abused out there.
My boyfriend was one.
Okay, so there's that fear, there's that I can make it better, the hope. What was going on inside your head?
I think, yeah, and I just said it, I always see the good in people. That's like my strength and my flaw at the same time. You know, so I always had hope that he could change, he could become a better person, because as a counselor, that's what I believe. That's my job, you know.
And you saw that good piece of him. That's why you fell in love with him.
Yes.
So there is a good person in there.
Yes. He just chooses to follow the evil ways of, you know, what he grew up knowing.
Right.
You know, so I guess what I was telling myself in that relationship is, and I guess it's a compilation of all the bad ones that we talked about too, like, I'm not good enough.
Right.
I'm not smart enough, even though I had a master's degree. I'm not pretty enough for anybody else. Like, this is it. This is all I can get.
And you were being told those things.
I was being told those things, yeah.
And eventually
I'm fat, I'm ugly, nobody's ever gonna love me.
That's hard.
You're a horrible person.
So how did it feel to get out?
You know, it felt great and confusing and hard at the same time. Like, I was happy, but then I was so scared because I thought, oh my God, what if I go back again? I don't want my life to be like this no more.
Right.
I'm better than this. Like, I'm better than this, and I deserve better, and I know there's better out there. And you know, at this point, I don't really care if I get it with somebody else. Like, at least I'm not going to have some stupid asshole talking bad about me anymore to my face.
Right.
So at that point, it was like, okay, fine. If, like, I'm not supposed to be married, I'm not supposed to be married. Like, whatever. You know, at least I'll be happy and be able to be who I am, who God put me on this earth to be, you know. And with him out of my life, I would be free to figure that out. And I'm still figuring that out at 31 years old, you know. And I know people that are older than myself that still haven't figured it out. So... yeah, but I think the hardest part was I didn't really miss him, so to speak. I missed having somebody there, you know, because I used to smoke, so we'd always like have a cigarette together before and after dinner. You know, we'd always watch TV together. We would do things together. So you don't have that constant companion. Yeah, you don't have that constant companion.
Right, right.
So I would say that's the part I miss the most. And for anybody that's going through this too, that's going to happen. You're going to have that void there. So you need to know and, I guess, prepare for it.
Right. How did you learn to love Michelle again?
I'm still learning to love Michelle again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I'm guessing you've come a long way.
I have come a long way. I continued to see my counselor after I left him.
Good girl.
Maybe for a few months or so, and then, I don't know, just moved on. And I'm back in counseling now, seeing an actual domestic violence counselor, which I didn't realize there's 2 different ways to do it. You know, like you have to be very trained for so many hours and how to deal with that. So I'm learning that I still have an issue with low self-esteem and low self-worth, and I'm working on changing that perspective of myself, because I still believe that there's more out there for me. I have a purpose, and one of them is right here talking to you today.
Awesome. And we're glad you are.
Thank you.
So what's happened to Michelle since then? You mentioned you have a new boyfriend.
Yes.
Or a current boyfriend. Maybe it's not so new. I
True. So I did take a break from dating, obviously.
Yeah.
Don't want to ever jump into something right after that.
And that's a very important point. It's so easy to fall in, especially if you find the nice guy.
Right.
You know, or the nice gal or whatever, depending on the situation. But just stay friends. It's okay to meet those nice people. But you got to get back to you first.
Right.
So good for you.
For sure.
Taking time out.
For sure. And I did learn something along the way with each person that I've dated, and it just didn't work out. I didn't have any bad relationships since then. I've been able to recognize the red flags a lot better and know, like, okay, nope. Delete that phone number. Don't ever call me again. You know, I did some online dating, and luckily I didn't have any horrible experiences, but
Good.
super fun thing to try.
Right.
So, yeah. So now in another relationship, I did hop from one to the other, but that was totally not intended, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, you can't always take a break, but when something big and traumatic happens, and you started your own business.
Yeah. Probably 2 weeks after I left my ex-husband, my company just fell into the seat of my lap. So, you know, I fully believe that everything happens for a reason. When you remove some of the negative, there's room for positive to come in.
Absolutely.
You know, I was completely upside down and backwards financially, and now I'm, you know, in the financial services industry. So I got myself fixed, and that because of the things that I learned and taught and teach people, you know, that's what I do now.
So how do you think that this experience that we talked about helps you in what you do now?
You know, I'm starting to build a company or an idea or a thought around helping and providing a network of services for women and families, because like we said, it happens to men too. So women and families in abusive relationships to come out successfully. So, you know, giving them an education on finances, giving them lawyers to network and talk with, giving them shelters if needed, you know, whatever it is, because it's a scary thing. Luckily, I had my parents to help me through it. But sometimes, you know, you live states away and you only have a couple friends and they don't want to interfere, you know, so just having some type of
mutual friends.
True. I don't talk to any of them anymore.
All right, you lose some friends in there. But you gain some friends, and
so just I'm working on building some type of network of people.
That's wonderful.
To provide stability on the exit strategy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What advice would you give viewers that are going, that's my life, I don't know what to do next, how to get through this? What's your best advice for people?
Trust your gut. Your gut knows all.
Yeah.
Just listen. And you know how you feel. You've probably been thinking about it a million times.
Right.
So just do it. I mean, there's resources out there for you. There's shelters everywhere.
And there are safe places.
Yeah, and you can plan it out too. You know, maybe do some research online, make a couple calls, and they'll help you plan the exit strategy. You don't have to just up and do it by yourself. There's ways to do it.
Right. And if you're afraid to use a computer at home, go to the library. Go, you know, have a friend do it and help you find your support.
Yeah.
You know, you said you confided in the wrong people.
I was probably embarrassed to tell my parents.
And I think that's common. People are embarrassed or ashamed, and like you said, that low self-esteem. You've been told, you're no good, you're this, you're that, and you're like, I messed up, this is all my fault.
Yeah.
It's not. Nobody deserves to be treated like that.
No.
So I'm so proud of you for getting out and everything you've done so far, and just that you continue to work on yourself. That's awesome.
I can always be better.
And I think
Always.
that's true of anyone. You know, you mentioned you're still trying to figure it out at 31. Honey, you got lots of years. What would you say was your rock bottom moment? That's the other thing we like to cover here is rock bottom. So what is your rock bottom moment that you recall?
We were in his condo and we were arguing about God knows what. And he was just throwing all my clothes in the yard. I mean, it was a condo, so it was like a community yard, you know. We got people around, and the walls were like paper thin. Sure. So everybody knows what's going on, you know. So I would say one of the rock bottoms was one of those days. Clothes were flying, rings were flying, my glasses got broke on purpose. You know, I was called every name in the book. Was told to get down on my knees and bark like a dog and beg for forgiveness for, I don't know, being myself, not doing something right. I called the police and hung up because he took the phone from me, and then we had to sit there in silence because they came and knocked on the door, you know, did a wellness check. Yeah, and then I think I was locked out with all of my clothes, crying, and then I'm getting yelled at for crying because, yeah, just a mess.
But you've recovered and you're better, and life is better.
Yes, absolutely.
I think you made an important point, is that when you get rid of something, you open the door for something new, something better, and you've proven that theory. So, any final words?
Final words. If you think something is wrong, you're probably right. There's people out there for you that want to help you. That's what they love doing, and you're worth it. You matter. Take a chance on yourself. Again, thank you so much, Michelle. I know it's not easy to share your story, but it's so important. And, you know, even if you touch one life out there. Absolutely. So thank you. And we're so proud of you. Thank you. And my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, share your struggle. Find the community. Join us here. If you have a story you'd like to share on Pick a Struggle TV, let us know. It's all about the story behind the struggle. We're here to help you and help everybody out there, just like Michelle is here to help you. Absolutely. So thank you. Join us. We'll be back, and we'll see you on the next Pick a Struggle TV.